there's a story that's not being told. The story of Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. The world has condemned it as the occupied West Bank. Could it be the biblical and historical heartland of Israel? Hear the miraculous stories of true pioneers who have dedicated their lives to the restoration of this land. Discover what's being hidden by mainstream news and media. Experience extraordinary places that few people even know exist. Join us for the Joshua and Caleb Report, stories from the heartland of Israel.
Hey guys, Joshua and Caleb here, guys, with our friend Aaron Lipkin.
Shalom.
We are going on an amazing journey up to an amazing place.
I would say, and I think most people would agree, that this is the biggest archaeological find that says that the Bible is absolutely true.
Now we've got a military escort here. This is going to be exciting. I'm not going to give it away because we're going to talk about it when we get in the car. Our guys are winding up the side of an amazing mountain. You guys probably definitely have heard of the mountain of blessing, the Mount of cursing. We are going to Mount Ebal. A lot of people overlook this mountain. They don't realize the history and the significance of this place. But truly, this is one of the epicenters of where God connected with his people in biblical times. Wow, guys, we've just arrived here at Joshua's altar. This is an amazing biblical, historical place. I'm looking forward to this. You guys ready? Let's roll.
This area is the area of Shechem. It's really the heart of the country. When we read in Genesis 12, we read that Abraham, when he comes into the country, the first place he comes to is Elon Moreh, the terebinth of Moreh, which is here in this area. It's interesting that the commandment that Moses gives to the Israelites is to do the ceremony here, where the first place where Abraham came to, the first place where Abraham calls God or worships God, is here. It's in Elon Moreh, in this area. And so we have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then Jacob goes to Egypt, and the Israelites are in Egypt for a few centuries. And then they're starting their voyage back to the land. So they're starting on Mount Sinai. Okay, first of all, they're exiting Egypt as a nation. Egypt made the Israelites a nation. And this nation comes to Mount Sinai and receives the Torah. And so this is the second element. We have the nation, we have the element of the law, the element of the commandments of God. And finally, Moses says, it's not over. It will only end when the nation and the Torah come to the land of Israel, come to Eretz Israel. And so the ceremony that we're going to talk about today unites these three elements: the element of Torah, the element of the Jewish nation, the chosen people, and the element of the land of Israel, Eretz Israel.
So just to explain to you guys on the camera here, we've got Shechem is just in the valley below us, right below and then back behind. And then we've got the Mount of Blessing right behind us. We're standing on the Mount of Cursing, as we told you, and we're just meters or feet away from Joshua's altar. All right, guys, we are now entering the area of the altar. And very interestingly, Aaron's gonna fill us in on this a little bit, but Aaron, what is this that we just walked into?
We are entering an enclosure, a reconstruction of an ancient wall that surrounded the area of the altar. It has a very peculiar shape, and it really reminds us of the footprint formations.
Footprint formations. We're gonna come back to that. Very interesting. We're gonna head on up to the altar.
Let's go.
Well, guys, the view from here is astounding. To view Mount Kabir, Genesis 12, the beginning and the foundation of the state of Israel, and really the land, the covenant that God made with Abraham, a tangible, touchable place. It's incredible as well to see the Tirzah Valley, the valley which many believe the children of Israel entered into, but then taking us to where we are right now. It's incredible to witness this mountain where Joshua and the children of Israel made their connection to God for the first time when they entered the land. This was the covenant. This was the place that Joshua built an altar. And the children of Israel worshiped God here for 70 years.
And this is such an important ceremony. I mean, people have been searching for the altar, and they're searching for the place of the ceremony for maybe 2 centuries. We know about French archaeologists and British archaeologists that come here at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, and they're looking for the altar. They're looking for this important place because they know how important it is in the Bible. The problem is that they're not looking at the right place. Everybody's thinking that this ceremony was between Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. They're looking for it at the southern slopes of Mount Ebal, and they can't find anything. And so they think maybe the altar was destroyed or ruined during the ages. And the funny thing is that during the 1980s, you have a professor of archaeology that's not a believer. He doesn't believe in God, doesn't think that the events in the Bible are historical, are tangible. And he just comes here with his crew, and they survey this place, and suddenly they find this weird enclosure that we're in right now. They get closer, and they see this huge pile of stone. And they say, what's going on here? And they see tons of clay, of Israelite clay, and they say, we have to dig here. And they come here, and they're not thinking about the altar. They're not thinking about Joshua,
it's not supposed to be here,
about the ceremony. It's not supposed to be here. The Bible is not true. That's what they think.
Yeah.
And they start digging in this place that we're going to see in a few minutes. And they find the structure, and they're saying to themselves, it's not the altar. It's not the altar. It's not the altar. And they're finding amazing evidence, and suddenly they find the altar of Joshua in a totally different place where everybody thought it should be. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. I want to go up to the altar and get a bunch more details.
Wonderful.
You got the details,
Let's
right?
go.
All right, guys, we just arrived here at the altar. I just bent down and picked up this piece of pottery. None of us are necessarily, did you do the same thing? None of us are archaeologists, but I have heard a few things, and Aaron agrees that this is really old. And it's possible that it could even date back all the way to the time of a ceremony at this location.
Right.
That's what we're gonna dig into. We're gonna dig into what this piece of pottery, if it had eyes, what it might have seen here. What did it look like here, Aaron? What are the details? Why in the world did they think 3,000 plus years later that this actually is the altar and that this could be a piece of pottery that was used in some kind of service here?
First of all, you have to remember that Adam Zertal and his crew come here, and what they find here in this place is a big pile of stone. And so they start digging, and this thing is that they start peeling out the exterior layer of this pile of stone, and suddenly they see these straight lines. They see a structure coming out of this pile of stone. And so this is the first thing that they see, that they understand, is that whoever used this altar, when they finished using it, they covered it with stone, so to keep it holy, or to keep it preserved. Exactly.
How do we know we're not just making this up? Like, that sounds really crazy that it would sit for 3,000 years with nobody else doing what Adam Zertal did.
First of all, he sees a structure that he doesn't recognize at the beginning as an altar. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't see any equivalence for such a structure at ancient times. And suddenly, one day, he sketches this structure, and he sits in a dining room in Shaveh Shomron, a village near here. And a religious Jew comes into the dining room, and he says, "Professor Zertal, is this what you find?" And he shows Professor Zertal a sketch of how the temple looked like at the second temple altar. And it looked exactly like this one. And so first of all, we have an altar that's totally Israelite. You don't find anything like that. You have Israelite clay, okay? They dig inside the altar. What do they find? What do you have inside an altar? Ashes. You have bones, and that's exactly what they find. They find enormous amounts of ashes and bones. They take the bones, they send them to the Hebrew University to be analyzed, okay? What would you not find in Israelite ashes?
A pig.
You wouldn't find a pig. You wouldn't find unholy,
Specifically written out, right?
unpure animals. They only found pure animal bones that are mentioned in the Bible. Yes. Not only that, can you offer any aged animal? No. You have to sacrifice a young animal, and all the animals that were found that were brought to the Hebrew University to analyze were young animals. So all the dots are being connected one to the other.
That's amazing, because there's not very many sites in Israel. I mean, there's a few, but as you look around the tourism, there's only a few sites that you can say, this is absolutely it. And with all the evidence we have here, we can pretty well say this is Joshua's altar. All right, guys, we were just exiting the altar site there, but we mentioned when we first came in here, Aaron, that there's something else significant, not only the altar, but why in the world is there this foot-shaped rock structure surrounding this? Give us the down low. What in the world is it for?
Well, we don't know why it's for, but Adam Zertal found at least 6 footprint formations, footprint structures that were built by the Israelites. And this footprint formation is the typical worshipping structure that would signify for the Israelites, in a way, God's footprint, God's foot in the land, the place where God reigns. And also, you know, Joshua, it says to Joshua, everywhere you will put your foot in the land will be yours. And so the footprint is also God's sign of saying this land belongs to me and to the Israelites. This is, I would say, the ancient flag of ancient times. You know, when you want to conquer a place, Iwo Jima, you put a flag. The footprint formations is the flag of the Israelites saying, this is ours. And it's amazing, you know, we're living in a time where the Israelites, the Jewish people is coming back to the land.
Right.
And we're finding these amazing findings, these archaeological findings that really put the Bible in a 3-dimensional situation. We've been reading the Bible in a 1-dimensional view, or a 2-dimensional view, and suddenly we're in the land. Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal are not just 2 mountains that are written somewhere in a chapter. They are physically visible. We can see them, we can touch them. And so are the archaeological discoveries that we're finding as time goes by. We see so many archaeological discoveries that are so amazing, so exciting, and are connected to our heritage, our shared heritage.
Oh, this has been fantastic here on the site with you guys. Aaron, thank you for really opening this up for us to really understand more about what is this rock structure out here. And the thing I want to tell you guys is that Aaron's going to be releasing another much more in depth. I'm telling you, there's not been a whole lot. I mean, we can dig even more. They just uncovered the altar. There is so much more. Like I said earlier with the pottery, there's a lot more here. Aaron is going to dig deeper into this in another series that Aaron's going to put on. So we're going to connect you with Aaron Lipkin. Stay tuned. We got more coming. Aaron, been fantastic. Thanks for showing us the place.
Thank you.
No, sorry.